The woes of winter are here for this trip to Nintendoland. Alex O'Neill and everybody listening, we indeed, as we hit the month of October, that is actually November, because that's when we're recording this. Hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. But we're here to talk about Nintendo.
It's not our fault. Nintendo puts their games out at like the middle point or end of the month, and we have to play them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
or in my regards, attempt to play them, because there's one game I really wanted to play, but unfortunately did not have much time to play. But we're gonna try and talk about all that stuff anyway in this trip to Nintendoland. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Burgess, and as I said, it's Alex O'Neill. We're back for our monthly Irrational Passions podcast, all about Nintendo. Each month we do here. You can watch the video version on YouTube, or you can listen, to it on various podcast services. But we're here.
Video version's hot, though. I'm going to give a pro tip to the people listening. The video version's great. A, Mike does a great job editing. B, we both have put a lot of work into our like visual setups. To look pretty good.
Yeah, we're looking visually updated. I can say more recently as I real time fix a crop. For the video version, as I'm looking at it,
that's the video version, baby.
That's the production value I bring here. Real time cropping in this video game podcast, because I finally did some fun stuff in OBS to make that all happen. But here we are. But video version, I enjoy making that just because I like making video stuff. And I always try and put some fun extra little tidbits like footage or trailers and things like that for news or gameplay of games we were playing. The woes of winter, as I mentioned, is here because there's, it's always that time of the year, right, where now it's like the news is kind of coming past, but now video games are coming out. But like, Nintendo has some stuff coming out, right? We do have some games to talk about. Mario Rabbids came out. Bayonetta 3 came out. Harvestella is there. But I don't think either of us played Bayonetta 3. But there was definitely a lot of interesting discussion about Bayonetta 3 through the month of October that we'll get to in the news, unfortunately. But something else, not specifically video game related, did happen in the month of October, Alex O'Neill. And even though it was a very big talking point throughout our Nintendoland podcasts, I immediately forgot it happened, and then was looking back through like stuff we could talk about for news, and I was like, oh right, a trailer for the Mario movie dropped at the start of October. We got our first look at the Super Mario Brothers movie, the Illumination one. They did like a direct that gave us a trailer and kind of just had Miyamoto being like, hey, we're doing a movie, here it is finally. And we got like I think broad scope first, like if I'll let you get into specifics as well, but like I kind of was pleased by that trailer. Like it was not like mind blowing by any means, but it was like okay, maybe they do know what they're doing when they're making this movie. But what did you think about it?
I really liked it too. It's gorgeous. Objectively, looks awesome, and I saw a lot of people sharing the sentiment of like, we've never seen the Mushroom Kingdom look this good.
yeah, it's a fair
Certainly
point.
Not in a video game.
Yeah.
Just like in the detail, it looks like a PS5 video game style. Like it's like super detailed, animated. Like, but yeah, I liked the vibe. I liked the characterization. Obviously, Jack Black as Bowser was like the thing I was the least worried about. That's the thing they started with. That's great.
Yep.
Seems like channeling maybe like some classic Bowser, but I'm hoping, and because it's Jack Black, I feel pretty confident saying like that they get into like the Paper Mario and the Mario RPG kind of characterizations of Bowser as like kind of a goober, just because that's like the most fun. But yeah, we got 3 seconds of a voice and it's all anyone wanted to talk about, but I honestly am not worried about it type deal.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think it's because it was like that whole deal of there was so much build up before this, and everyone gets in their heads about it. I definitely will say I definitely did, because you hear him say things, Chris Pratt say things like, "You've never heard anything like this before."
Yeah.
and then you hear, and it's like Chris Pratt's normal voice with like a slight New York accent tinge, or a slight New York tinge to it. And I was just like, as soon as I heard that, okay, fine, sure, whatever. Like, so like, I'm sure it'll be fine. But like you said, like everything else in the trailer was like really great. Like Jack Black Bowser was really good, and as to be expected. And then that was definitely the main focus, I would say, of the trailer, right? So that was really fun. And then just like seeing all like the fun, like actual Mario like enemies and characters, like also being more emotive, and seeing Kamek like introduce them was really fun.
Kamek was super good. Yeah,
Kamek was like really great, and I'm glad they're also like making them, including those personalities more, right? Like not just having these core Mario characters be there all the time, but being able to like have Toads be Toads, and having Kamek and all these different goons of Bowser also play off of that. Because like you said, like some of the best stuff when it's come to like Mario games and stories and characters were those Paper Mario games, and seeing them hopefully trying to evoke some of that in this, where you have those moments where like Bowser's enemies are like, it's a living, like having those dumb moments where they're just kind of like, they're kind of over it, and Bowser's just being Bowser and being a goofball, but like this weird goofball that's their ruler at the same time, that they don't really take seriously at all. Was always really fun. So I definitely hope there is some of that as well. But yeah, that's kind of all we saw. Like, I'm sure we'll get some more, because that's like what, April, I think, or
April, yeah.
I think I might be misremembering that, but I think April next year is when it'll be here.
We're going to go see it together.
Yeah, that's we already did. We said that online. We were like, we will go see that in a theater together, and then like probably do something after to record that for sure. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
we'll probably be the two oldest people in the movie theater.
Almost certainly.
Or it'll be us and a bunch of parents and their kids, and they'll just be like, who are these?
Or
who are these
worst
weirdos?
Case scenario, it'll be a bunch of us and also 30-something nerds.
Just like
no one else.
Awkward. Yeah, that's also very possible too. But yeah, that'll be fun.
It looks good. It's an origin story.
Origin story. That's right. It definitely has that vibe.
People were like, "This is like a boring thing." I'm like, "All right, guys, this is like a hard thing to ask anyone. Like, make a Mario movie with like characters that are good. Like, let's just the easy route. Let's stick with that. I think that's fun. Mario. That means like it's interesting because we don't get stuff like Koopa Kid, or potentially not the Koopalings. I hope we get the Koopalings. That's
that'd be
one
fun.
thing that they haven't said that. Or like Bowser Jr., like a lot of those things I imagine wouldn't be here, but we do get Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong, and I'm really interested to see if
how they show up.
There's like some acknowledgement of like a history there, maybe, because in theory, Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested by that. Yeah,
me too. That's a good call out for sure. Like, how are these other characters going to be involved at the end of the day? Like, we don't know. Like, we saw like a little bit of a tease of Luigi in some kind of spooky place being chased by dry bones. So I'm hoping there's kind of like a whole thing where he like gets like a vacuum or something, or like some nod, like new Luigi Mansion nods would be really fun too. So I'm very curious how they're going to do that. Like, we didn't see Princess Peach at all, so we really don't know like what they're going to do with her. I feel like I hope she's not just like a damsel the whole time, distress kind of thing. Like, it's possible, but like, who knows? Like, maybe they'll pull maybe they'll pull like once again, from pulling from Paper Mario. Like, there was a whole lot of arcs with her in those games that were very fun. Or even if she was kidnapped, she was like capable, and kind of you had these own moments where you played as the Princess Peach, and like they were very fun and good.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Like, good. A lot of presumably Mario shows up, meets Peach, makes a bunch of friends, great time. Then Bowser shows up and kidnaps Princess Peach, as you would think.
Yeah.
And after that point, I'm hoping there's like a lot of great Bowser Peach scenes with the two of them, like interacting, her trying to escape multiple times, stuff like that. Like, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah. It could be fun for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely curious how else what else they're gonna put in there. For sure, like there was tons of cool imagery in that trailer, and like a poster they put out as well, where you could see like a bunch of like buildings and signs, and they were using stuff from like the actual games, like pulled straight out in the world and stuff, which looked really cool. And yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised at how above and beyond it looks. But we'll have to wait and see once that movie's out. But also like, you know, to your point where you said like, you know, people were like, it's an origin story. Like, come on, man. Like it's this is gonna be a movie for children. Like it's like, you know, it's not gonna be. We're not gonna see this huge character arc from Mario that's gonna change the face of the world. You know, so that's totally so. You know, that's kind of my expectations, obviously. So
yeah, exactly.
It'll just be a fun time, and I'm totally okay with that. In less fun news, the two stories we have here mainly are not the most fun. And one is a follow up to kind of the labor disputes and things that were going on. We can just kind of we'll just kind of go over that real quick because you know it did happen, you know, a little while ago, and some of these news stories have been ongoing, and they happened kind of earlier in the month, and now we're definitely coming a little late, but you know they've been gone over, so we won't try and belabor the points too much here. But you know, starting off here, like we said, a couple previous episodes we talked about, there were labor disputes with a contracting company that worked with Nintendo, mainly their like QA department. For basically with this dispute, it was basically Nintendo settled their dispute, so to speak, and paid former Nintendo game tester Mackenzie Clifton will receive $26,000 in back pay and damages as part of a settlement with the game maker, according to the file with the Nintendo or National Labor Relations Board. So that happened. I'm reading here from Stephen Totillo Axios, I think who originally broke this. Basically, yes, Nintendo's going to be paying that. Here's more specific details. The settlement signed by Clifton and lawyers from Nintendo of America, and contracting firm Ashton Carter calls for $25,000 in pay and interest and $1,000 in damages. And they will have to be also for Nintendo and Ashton Carter will be required to post a notice about workers' federally protected rights at the entrance to its product testing department for 60 days. It will also email it to all members of the team. So that's also here as well. But yeah, this was, you know, like we said, was kind of something we talked about in the last couple episodes where there was a lot of, you know, talk of this, and Mackenzie kind of broke it all of like, hey, Ashton Carter, you know, working there was tough and they did not. And she brought up, you know, apparently labor was brought up to Doug Bowser, or she was one that brought up to Doug Bowser about, you know, talking about unions at Nintendo and their QA and stuff. And apparently it was not really like in the meeting itself, it was kind of not brought up a big deal, but then apparently afterwards, the contractors for Nintendo came after her, and eventually it led to her being removed. They used other reasonings for that removal, like they were saying, like, you know, they were tweeting about things that maybe revealed like games they were testing or working on, and that broke NDA. So they fired her, but it was really not that at all, because you can go find those tweets. Like I think they're even linked in the article we have here, and that they like do not reference anything at all that would put her in those claims. And clearly now she is being paid a little chunk of money. So clearly the companies were at wrong. And you know, hey, this is, you know, at the end of the day, I think there's still a lot of work to be done in this QA, and probably a lot of gaming companies in general. But this is like, I think, another moment where it was nice to see a big win for laborers and workers in the game industry, like kind of get a win, more or less.
Yeah. I'm curious if this is going to have lasting impact on how Nintendo treats contractors. I wonder if they'll be more careful about stuff like this going forward. I really hope, but you know, I'm sure we'll probably revisit something like this like 6 months from now, and hopefully we'll hear that things have gotten better. Like at a situation like Rockstar, where we heard a lot about that place and then nothing for a while, and then it's like, oh, it's gotten a little bit better there. It's like, okay,
yeah, they've been figuring it out and kind of righting the ship for sure. So yeah, I agree. I hope we hear that soon, because it always is a sad thing to hear when workers at these companies, and they're they're being treated wrong, and also like especially like ones we're passionate about, and they're probably obviously very passionate about because they went to work for these companies and studios, and now they're being treated like garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah. Next up, we have another madness. This all happened in the month of October, and it was complete insanity. Bayonetta
this was
3,
madness for real.
Yeah, this was all. It was like it wasn't even. It was like just like a week too, right? Like I feel like
it was the last week of October. It was like the 20th through like the 31st, basically.
Right. Okay, got it. Yeah, but basically, Bayonetta's voice actor, our actress Helena Taylor, put out a video on Twitter. This was kind of the start of it all, and basically it was kind of going over like why she's not voicing Bayonetta for this game, Bayonetta 3. It's Jennifer Hale has stepped in, and basically she in this initial video said that like, hey, I was only offered, I forget the specific
4,000 for the whole game.
For the whole game. And she says, you know, this was a disgrace, and then I put it away and like, please boycott this game. She went too far to say boycott this game, and that obviously led to a huge strife on you know, internet discourse because she put this on Twitter. So of course, the perfect place to start a whole online beef for sure.
Certainly, only getting better in that regard.
Yes, indeed. Boy, but yeah, that kind of came out, and there was a lot of whole bunch of madness came out. You know, the people started attacking Jennifer Hale, even though she had no freaking like clue of like this did not actually truly like involve her in any way. It's not like she was like go out to steal the role from this person. That's just it was unfortunate, just internet reaction of just her being attacked. And Kamiya, Platinum Games, of course, being Kamiya, blocked 1 billion people, and then apparently had his account suspended because I guess he was banning so many people at once. Like they tagged him as like a bot or something, I think was what people were saying. That was all insanity, of course. And then he also made like tweets directed at her that were like, hey, this is not the full story, this sucks. And then this led to a whole bunch of things. Like I have an article I'm kind of skimming here because there's just a lot of stuff to this.
Basically, Jason Schreier picked up an article at Bloomberg then that was like the contract documents that directly contradicted what Helena was saying.
Yeah.
And then eventually Helena came out and said that she was offered $4,000 to $5,000 per session, up to 5 sessions for the game. And then she declined that, and then they offered her $4,000 to $5,000 for a cameo single session, and declined that. And then a bunch of like, I would say, character assassination type stuff happened around Helena, where we found out that she like supported like Blue Lives Matter and anti-trans legislation, and then everyone just left.
Yeah, they were just
absolutely
like, nope,
jump ship.
So we're out. Bayonetta 3, baby, let's go. Like, yeah, for sure. It was an insane like turn heel, and then it just all happened. Like it feels like it happened all so fast, and they were just like,
it did. It was like Sunday. I think those tweets come out. It was like over the weekend.
Yeah,
it was Saturday, Sunday.
People are like, yeah, and it immediately turns into people being like, oh, I can't buy Bayonetta 3 now, but I want to support, this thing. This is such like a niche franchise, like it shouldn't go down. And now, like, I'm really curious to see, like, Bayonetta is not a huge franchise, but I'm very curious to see what'll end up being the actual like sales and performance of this game, because like at this point reviews have came out and everyone seems generally positive on it. I think it probably is going to do fine overall. But I think it is the challenge. I think it is also the other challenge of like there's just so many games coming out right now, and we'll get into that once we talk about all the games we've been playing.
Yeah, it's a bummer because like something like this only hurts a game like Bayonetta.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
Like only the people that heard about this were the people that cared the most. Only those people were affected by this, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer to know this like about the voice actor of Bayonetta, and how like not great this all makes her look.
Yeah.
And then like that overshadows like the larger conversation about voice actor labor and how they're often
100%.
underpaid. And it kind of like monetizes itself on that like controversy in a very manipulative way, and it's a big bummer.
Yeah, it definitely I was gonna say that was kind of a big point for me of like it more than anything, like just like I think sucks more for voice actors in gaming now, right? More than like if this video game sells super well, because I think Platinum will be fine regardless of how well or good Bayonetta does, but this will only affect voice actors trying to make money, and like I think there was a good thing of like people like having their kind of eyes open to like, oh yeah, like here are these iconic voice actors like coming out and who've been all these cool characters throughout video games and cartoons and anime, just being like, that's not a lot of money. Here's how much money I made for this, and then just seeing like, oh geez, that's kind of rough in some ways, but also I've seen some that are like, you know what, that's actually not too bad. But
Sure.
maybe that's just hey, who's everyone's making different wages and different things in their lives, so it's I think it's just it's unfortunate that had to be the actual kind of downfall from all this. I think it just is going to hurt those people trying to voice act in games and get the right pay, and also like I know there's some unionization in there that is tough, and I think there was also an aspect of that to it as well, where I think she's in a union, or but I can't remember. There's a lot of stuff going on in that exactly, but yeah, I think it was just a tough situation.
Yeah. And in it's always muddy when like the first thing that comes out is very not true.
Yeah.
And then it's very quickly hit, and it's like all that energy that we had right at the beginning just stops.
Yeah.
And we missed the point right from the get-go, basically.
Yeah, it becomes something else completely. And we kind of lose the actual important narrative is here, which is like voice actors should probably be paid more than they are.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, for sure. But yeah, that's I don't know what much else there is. I think everything's kind of been said about it to this point.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm just frankly honest, I don't feel like talking about it too deeply.
Yeah.
But
it's a bummer.
Yeah, for sure. Some minor things. The little quick news hits here. Mario Party 1 and 2 came to Nintendo Switch Online very recently. So both games, the game at the same time, which was a nice surprise, I thought, just because they said all three of them are coming. So I was kind of fearing, like I think a lot of people were fearing that like, oh, we're to get 1 in November and then 2 in December and then 3 in maybe like January, February. So it would have had like 3 or 4 months of just Mario Party games and no other Nintendo Switch or N64 games. So I think this was a good move to just have both of these. Maybe December they'll do a different game, and then maybe like January they'll do Mario Party 3 or something. And that probably makes me also think that they might do that with I think they said Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 are also coming pretty soon, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe those come both at the same time as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So that was pretty cool. The Pokemon hype cycle is definitely I think we're in the midst of it for sure, I'd say. And I actually really like what they've been doing so far. Like if I don't know if you've been following it too much, but a lot of the things they've been doing is like putting out these little teasers for specific Pokemon and introducing them like by like showing the parts of the world of like Scarlet and Violet. Like the first one they did was Bellabolt, which is like the weird little frog electric Pokemon that looks like a weird Grimace from like the McDonald's Grimace character, but he's like a weird little green blob. The whole introduction to him was alongside one of the gym leaders you're gonna face in the game, and she's like a streamer, like J-pop kind of star, and she like streams, and like it's like the whole intro to this thing was like this little video where she's like pretending to be like some you have like a little 3D model of her like pretending to be streaming to this crowd, and she's like introducing herself and like talking about all this Pokemon stuff and electric Pokemon. Like she has like big like Magnemite buns in her hair that look pretty cool. She's a cool looking like character design. But it wrapped with them introducing this Pokemon through that, which was fun. And then they did it again, like I think it was right around Halloween time. They've introduced like a little ghost dog Pokemon called Graveyard. I think it's just like Graveyard or something. It looks like he's like a very like one of those dogs that have like a bunch of hair covering their face, and he has like a little candle on his head. But they kind of did this cool little like sneak peek of like, it's almost kind of creepy because they like it's like this perspective of this kid going through this like nighttime kind of like sort of woodsy kind of plains area, and they're like talking to themselves just like, oh, what is around here. And it's like dark and spooky, and you see like ghost Pokemon jumping around, and you see a Gengar like running around, and it's all like this like
I did see this video.
Yeah, and then at a certain point you just see like a little candle, and the dog jumps out. And they're like, oh, it's a dog, and they start playing like the first person start playing with the dog, and then the whole thing with the Pokemon, I guess, is like when it's playing with you as a dog, it's draining your life. As a dog, so like the whole scene is just the kid being like, all right, I'm helping you out, let's play fetch. And it's just like the kids are getting tired, and then you just see them collapse first person, and the dog just like looks over them and licks their face, and then it just like goes to Pokemon gameplay. You're just like, Jesus Christ, that kid just got murdered. What the fuck? Like, it was kind of dark, but like it was fun and like weird and different, like in a fun way to like introduce this own separate Pokemon and like a bit of this world to us. And now there's one going on actually right now. While we're recording this, they just the Pokemon Twitter tweeted a link to a website, and it's just, if you go to the website, there's just like it's like a chest with like a little like gold coin symbol on it. And like apparently it's been like it's one of those things where like I guess at some point it'll open, because if you go to the website and just watch it every so often, it'll like move and kind of bounce around and do things. And so I'm assuming some Pokemon will pop out of that chest at some point.
Or it's a chest Pokemon.
Whoa, it could be
mimic.
Yeah, the eyes,
in
the eyes,
Pokemon form.
It just grows eyes. Yeah, it could be something like that for sure. So yeah, I've been enjoying that kind of stuff because they've not really done that before. Where like a lot of it is very typical gameplay trailers and like overview trailers, which they actually have been doing that too. But actually, I've also appreciated them just like trying this different approach and giving all the like the stars of the games are obviously the Pokemon. So like giving a little spotlight to more of these Pokemon and revealing them this way, I thought has been very fun.
Yeah, it seems like they're really starting to figure it out too.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a preview of Pokemon because people got to play.
Yeah, that did happen. I watched some of those too.
I watched the GameSpot preview. Yeah, I like this. They have this auto battle thing where you can just like release your Pokemon and they'll just fight.
Yes,
and get experience.
Yeah.
They'll get less experience, but they'll just like take a little damage in auto battle.
Because that was definitely a big question I had, and it took them to finally see these previews because people went and actually played it to finally see someone the answer be answered of like, can you just throw a Pokeball at a Pokemon and start a fight and catch them like in Arceus? And it was answered that like you can throw a Pokeball at them and start and initiate a like the battle stuff works like Arceus does when you want to start a battle, where like you can throw your Pokeball at it or your Pokemon at it. It'll start the battle, or you can even throw it from behind them, like catch them off guard, and you'll get like an extra attack or something. So you can do that stuff, but the catching without battling seems to not be there. That's
no stealth catching,
and other catching mechanics that were in Arceus are there. Now it's just you have to start a battle and then weaken them and do that, and that's fine because like you said, the other part of that is the auto battling stuff. If you like kind of just want to battle and kind of get through quickly. Nice. It seems pretty nice, and it also seems like there will be like specific moments where you have to do that to like do the thing, because that was like a part of the preview is like one of the main quest lines is like what seems like they haven't fully, I don't know if they fully said it, but like it seems like there's like the star team, and that's like your kind of quote unquote villain team that like those teams become less and less like villain like over the franchise, which is fine. But like it seems like those auto battling things will be a big core of that, because they have these zones that you go into that are like their controlled areas, and when you go into them, you will have to like there'll just be a bunch of trainers, and Pokemon everywhere, and you have to like run around and like auto battle like all these Pokemon in an area or a certain time to like initiate like a bigger battle or something like that. So that sounds interesting. That sounds really cool. And yeah, I'm very excited for this game now. Like, because now we're hitting that. Like, it's November 5th. We're recording this, and we're less than a week away probably by the time this comes out, or pretty close to it. And it's looked better and better every time you've seen it. There will be obviously things I'm already kind of expecting, like the Switch limitation on the limitation of the hardware is probably gonna be present, and that game's probably gonna be run not great in some spots, but I'll suffer through it. I'm still very curious and how co-op will be, and just playing the game with other people and just being able to explore a world and just everybody be running around in it and see how that is. I definitely think that's still one big question I have, how that'll all work exactly.
Yeah, I'm just like, this feels like they're taking a lot of steps to make the world more immersive, and those are the things that I like in Pokemon the most.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I'm stoked to just like have the squad. You can have the one Pokemon just walk around with you too, which you weren't able to do in a lot of like the other more recent 3D games.
Yeah, and it like didn't really matter as much, where I feel like now, at least with like this idea of auto battling, like it could matter which Pokemon you have running around with you, because
you can be like, go
fight, homie, go fight.
Yeah, please go fight, homie. That seems great. The co-op, drop in, drop out co-op seems fun. If like you can do the things that you should be able to do in co-op, which I'm expecting that you'll be able to do half or less of them.
Right.
But that baby steps here. But yeah, just like the third person perspective for the whole game and all that, I'm stoked for.
Yeah, for sure. I am very excited to just have that game and like be able to explore a open world Pokemon game finally. I'm just it's here, and it'll be very fun.
And say what you will about these bicycle Pokemon.
Hey, we're getting around, baby.
We're getting around one, but like I like that they are something that you just interact with right away and traverse with, because that means like whatever the real legendary Pokemon of the game and the story around them, they're a total mystery.
For sure. It seems like there will be some kind of, I think clearly one of those 3 story arcs they've been teasing is clearly more around like some other kind of legendary Pokemon we may have not seen yet, maybe multiple legendary Pokemon we just haven't seen yet, and like this mystery. And I think that's a cool way to do it. Like you said, I'm stoked to see, because like I said, they have been doing a lot of fun marketing stuff, but they've also kept a lot more under wraps than they have before with previous Pokemon games. Because I feel like even by this point, I don't actually, for Sword and Shield, they didn't reveal the starter evolutions too much before the game came out. But a lot of the previous ones, they have like definitely revealed a lot more Pokemon that were like new Pokemon that are going to be in this game already. And they have revealed some for Scarlet and Violet, but I feel like there's just a lot we have not seen yet of this game. And that's exciting to just have this kind of bigger game, clearly bigger Pokemon adventure that we've not had before, still be completely fresh and we've not seen a lot of yet.
Yeah.
Really stoked as well. But yeah, that's all. That's kind of all we had for the news. Unless you had anything you had thought of that I missed, but I think again, it was lightish, but that's usually how it goes when we're in the months where like, oh yeah, now video games are just coming out. They don't have video games to announce yet, because now stuff is coming out. Because like
news will happen again next month.
Yeah, true. And that's that's because a bunch of games came out for Nintendo Switch. We had Mario Rabbids, Sparks of Hope. We had Bayonetta, you said Harvestella. There's a bunch of other games like I've been playing that are not necessarily Nintendo adjacent, but you can sure play them on there. Like Overwatch 2 and
Persona
some other
5,
stuff. You're playing Persona 5. That's right.
Finally, the dream is real.
The first Persona game came out indeed. So yeah, there's a tons of games talking about. The word be definitely talking about a lot of games. So why don't you just go ahead and start with what you've been playing with Persona.
Before we do that, I want to address, because there was a thing that we didn't talk about. I don't know if it was last episode, Splatoon 3. which I finished now.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The boss fight that
Yes.
is a spoilers if you don't want to know.
Yes.
This. I think everyone who knows, everyone who knows at this point knows. But the final boss, but the boss that is Big Man, that is the Manta fight from Super Mario Sunshine.
It's so good.
In that game is buck wild, and I lost my mind when I saw it.
Yeah, and you like it made so much sense immediately as it happens.
It did,
because you're just like, right, of course because at that point you had already fought in the two other like part of those group, right? You fought like the shark little girl, and the other lady. I forget their names. Pyre and Fry and something else.
Yes,
Fry and
the other person has like a normal name.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the names again, but then of course you get into that. And it's like, oh yeah, Big Man shows up. You have to fight Big Man, and then he transforms and literally just becomes the weird manta ray from Mario Sunshine. That one level you have to spray, and then it turns into minier mantas, and you're just going. It's like, oh my god, this is
fun.
Brilliant. Like, this is perfect. It just makes so much sense. Of course they're gonna do this. That was very fun. But yeah, the final boss battle was nuts too, because you literally.
In space fighting Grizz, who's like the boss of the Salmon Run mode, and you just hear this mysterious voice, and it makes a lot more sense because if you look at before you go and beat him in that fight, if you go into Salmon Run and look at the little like statue you interact with, it's a statue of a bear. And it turns out he's just a grizzly bear. He's just a big, huge, like mutated bear who's been mutated by this weird fuzz goo. The last of the mammals.
Yeah, it's the last of the mammals, because that's the rise of the mammalians was like the whole little bit from the whole thing, and everything's fuzzy. And
great reveal, and then the fight's really fun because it straight up feels like a Mario Galaxy level on the Mario reference, because Splatoon does it a lot, to be fair. But it's straight up just like you're on this rocket that got like shot into space. And while you're fighting him, like the little parts of it just entirely rotate, so you have to like ink it and like swim and like stay on it to continue to survive on it. And it was a really cool fight. And then
definitely one of my favorite bosses in recent memory.
And then you get in a mech and fight him.
Yep, and then
a giant mech, which is pretty good.
Yeah, you fight him you also fight alongside the original boss of the original Splatoon, the DJ Octario, or what his name was. It's very fun finale to that game.
Again, just everything about that game feels like they hit their stride with it. There was also the first Splatfest with that game since we talked about it, which I just loved how they did like the city at night.
Yeah, and yes, those are always super fun.
Is happening. I had not seen that. Like, I don't know if they did stuff like that for Splatoon 2.
Yep, they did. They did it for both the original Splatoons, and like it's really fun because if you go there like a day or two before the Splatfest starts, they even like do like the full on, like they like have like pieces of staging and like buildings all over the little area, like they're building it, and then obviously when you go in the actual days, they have the whole performances and stuff. This one is definitely more elaborate than the other ones where they have like the flying like little like stations in there that they're dancing on, and you can see like big screens. Like, there's similar stuff in the previous games. That one was definitely the more elaborate one they've done always, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Just the presentation of that game is extremely good, and I'm very impressed by it. Happy I finally finished a Splatoon game. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. It was a great time. I haven't gone back too much, although there is another the next Splatfest is coming up, and it's like it's like a Pokemon crossover, because you like pick your favorite starter type as the theme, so you pick water, fire, or grass. So I might jump in for that. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think I'll play for that. It's a nice thing. You can just jump in for a weekend and then be done.
Yeah.
But just want to mention Persona 5. It's out on Switch.
5.
I have not played the Switch version, but I've checked in with people who have. It is good. It is more like akin to like the PS4 version of Persona 5 Royal, which is fine. You know, it runs at 30 FPS. I have been playing it on Xbox, which is on the Game Pass as well. If the best deal in gaming, go out there and get it. And 60 FPS, very good for that game. Just makes everything, which is very nice, elaborate animations for everything. Just makes it all look so smooth.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, definitely jump in if you've not played it before. It's on PC as well. Very excited for that game to be available for all. And the Persona 3 and 4 are coming out in January. So those aren't far away at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't realize they were that soon.
Finally, Persona is on Switch.
Yeah.
We can rest easy.
Yeah, rest easy. Joker and Smash ran, so Persona Switch could finally fly, like, what, 4 years later?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like,
you know,
I do feel like that was a big part of it, right? Like, obviously that did well for them, and Sakurai worked hard to get that, and then I imagine that led to a lot of backroom conversations that got us here. So
yeah, 100%. That's pretty good. I'll give another shout out here to a game that is on Switch, but I've been also playing on Xbox thanks to Game Pass. And it's on my mind recently because I just beat it like a day or two before we recorded this, and that's Plague Tale Requiem, and that's the sequel to Plague Tale Innocence, which I actually also played that early this year. And yeah, and I would say for that first game, I enjoyed it. Definitely was not a perfect game, but it's clearly like a good first game from the studio who like clearly like we're going for a much higher production value game for sure.
Yeah.
And this follow-up definitely ups the ante. I would say a good way to put it, because, you know, personally for me, these games are very trying to echo the PlayStation formula of like kind of the walk and talk third-person action games, you know, like there's kind of not a way to talk around that. They just kind of are riffing on like Naughty Dog games, right? Like it kind of just plays like there's a lot of similar crossovers and similarities to stuff like Uncharted and Last of Us in terms of how you like are playing the game. You have these moments where you're walking slow, these very big epic scenic moments. The game is very, very visually impressive. One of the best looking visual pieces of video games I played this year, like straight up. I played it on Xbox Series S, so that means it can look even better, which is impressive. There's a cloud version on Nintendo Switch. Now, I will say I did not play that version. Cloud games in general on Switch I know are very hit or miss, so I think unfortunately, if it's your only option, play it there. But I would recommend maybe if you have maybe a PC or something a little stronger than the Switch, I play it. And I would say if it's more of a thing, if you like that first game, I think you can enjoy this game. Enjoy this game and be frustrated in the same ways, let's say, because there's a lot of similar moments. I feel like I remember this from the first game where like there's a lot of really good moments and insane weird moments, but also there's a lot of moments where you're playing the game and just like this puzzle just like does not feel fully thought out. Or I think they were maybe thinking you were going to have more things in these moments that I clearly do not have, and maybe I missed a lot of things because they were maybe not portrayed to me as well. Or maybe like, you know, they try and make you more capable in a combat sense in this game, so now they're going to try and throw more combat at you, but maybe they actually shouldn't have done that, thrown that much combat at you. But like, you know, there's moments like that were like frustrating for me, but I think a lot of the good and interesting moments weighed, and especially kind of the end of the game was really like kind of not surprising, but like in like a good way that was like, you know, a closing for these characters that I actually kind of liked more than I thought I would.
That's good.
Yeah. I think it's, again, a very visually impressive game. There's some weird, ridiculous moments. I would say like it kind of has a slow start because I'd say, you know, we were gonna do a viewpoints for this game, but unfortunately,
we did do a viewpoints. Yeah,
we did. I was gonna say we did do one. We did do one,
and it got borked.
Yeah, my audio got messed up. Things reset and update, and I should have double checked things and didn't. Is what it is. But the early parts of the game are very much just like feels like you're just playing a much prettier version of that first game. There isn't really it really doesn't get to like later in the game when you have a little bit more tools and kind of the story picks up and kind of changes a little bit, and you kind of like get stuff revealed that it really starts to pick up, I think. And I do want to talk about a little of it, so I'll say spoiler warnings for stuff. the kind of the whole premise of it is, it takes place a little bit after the events of the first game. I forget, they didn't really give you a specific time frame, but at least seems like maybe like, month or year, few maybe like a year or two. The game kind of opens with them kind of sort of on the run, and you're kind of, obviously the boy Hugo still, you learn that he has rat powers and is like tied to this, plague that has overtaken this, like the parts of Europe they're in. And basically it is like now following him where he goes, more or less, and they're trying to figure out how to save him. In the opening of this game, he has like this crazy dream sequence where you're like playing as him, and you're like chasing after this like big red phoenix bird on this island. That's like, you're just like, what the world is happening right now? And and it's like this weird like it's a really cool like visual moment for sure, where you're like chasing this bird through this area, and then basically it's like saying like, hey, we need to find this island, and trying to find this island, a whole bunch of stuff happens where they're, the mother and Hugo are the daughter that you play as, Amicia and Hugo, are kind of end up having a strife with the mother and the other character they're having with. So they eventually split up, and because they don't believe this island exists. It turns out the island exists. And
it's the island from Lost.
Yeah, polar bear shows up. It's weird. Smoke monsters. Weird. I mean, there is some weird stuff that does happen on this island. Sure. But I think that was where it was interesting, right? Because you hear that and you're like, okay, that seems like that's kind of the start, and that's kind of the end goal. But you actually get to the island, and like there's like a whole like almost second game that starts up in this, and you meet like different characters, and those characters actually like join you on like kind of this quest, like once you're on this island to like find what he's like getting visions and things, voices talking to him as this crazy boy connected to this thing. And that those parts are really cool because like these characters are more capable, and you can like direct them to like do things in the game where like, you have this guy who's just was a knight, and he has a big sword and shield, and you can just go like, hey, instead of like, sulking around like a tiny baby, and I'm slinging rocks at dudes, or, maybe I will be lucky enough to find a single crossbow bolt for my crossbow that you barely get to use. It's kind of a bummer. But then you have like the scene where you're playing when he's on your team. You can just be like, hey, go fucking fight those dudes, and he'll just run in there and he'll just fuck them up. And like,
excellent.
But like there's like a cool thing of like, he can be overwhelmed. So if it's the thing where it's like there's like 4 dudes over here, and he goes he kind of needs like your help to fight alongside him, and I think that's like a cool way to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like he'll start fighting dudes, and then while he's distracting them, you can just kind of go, like you have moments where, if you remember from those first games, similar, where there's like bigger knights with more armor, and you have to hit their weak points to like break off the armor, and it makes those parts like make more sense and be more fun when you have that dude with you. But obviously when he's not with you and you still have to fight those dudes, it's like, well, this is kind of not fun.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So like there's a lot more interesting stuff in the later part of that game that I enjoyed. And also some of the story stuff was way more interesting because you like meet these characters on the island, and there was this whole order that was a part of the first game, right, with the crazy pope. And I actually really like how they kind of portrayed this because you first this game kind of does a lot of the like you go up to a place and it seems super nice, so everything's good. Turns out everything is not good, and it gets bad really fast. And like that's like the whole spoiler. That's the whole case of this fucking island too. It's like, it gets worse and worse and pretty fucked up. But it's interesting because like you meet these characters that are like, at first you think they're like, oh, they're the order's not here. It's this remote island. It's not a big deal. But it turns out these guys are more or less the order because they basically got they basically have ruins on this island that were a part of that order, but they have, seen it from this different perspective that they're like this different kind of thing. And like they see this as like, the order was like, using this plague to control stuff. They see that as like this is their savior, or like coming to save them kind of thing. So it twists that like storyline in a little bit. So then it kind of turns around into this, kind of fight again to, protect the kid from these people. And, they, for a while, you think they're not really on to these 2 kids, even though clearly when they showed up, a bunch of other horrible shit shows up. And eventually, the fucking rats show up on the island.
Of course
the rats show up on the island, right?
At least it sounds like there's some time without the rats.
Yes, there like when you've kind of there's a pretty good stretch. Again, I think it's really when you get onto the island for the first time. There's like a really good stretch of like you're just kind of walking around this island again. Like you meet some extra side characters as you're like going to the island or on the island, and they're with you. There's like actually like a really cool section where you're like there's just like a big it reminds me of those moments in these more recent Uncharted and Last of Us things where there's just like way bigger environments and you can just walk around it and just find stuff and like have these little moments where the characters like see a thing and they're like, oh yeah, look at this, this is cool, what are these people about, like and there's a lot more of that stuff, which is really nice. And again, the game looks so visually impressive, and like some of the visuals at the end are like so amazing, like they're crazy, like Dark Souls, like crazy giant red sphere in a red sun. It's imagery that just looks completely insane, like an otherworldly in a really cool way that I was not expecting. It's at the very, very end of the game, but but yeah, it's really cool. This. Yeah, I'd say like if you like that first game, I think you'll enjoy it. That's my ultimate thing is like if you like that first game okay enough, I think this game like improves enough over that and has some cool moments that I think are good. And I think the ending is interesting, but I will say again, spoilers, because it's not fully clear, but I think they kind of teased another game, but I think the game is
could be a trilogy.
It's not. I don't think it's gonna be a trilogy because it kind of teases like it might be in the modern day.
Oh wow! Okay.
So maybe that it's hard to really tell from that thing because like literally all it is like it's like a 5-second clip of like you see like a blue cloak and like it looks like it's like somebody maybe on like a doctor, or like you hear like one of those like beep beep, like kind of like in a doctor's room sort of like things. I'm forgetting the name or whatever it is, but then like it's like
heart monitor.
Yeah, heart monitor, right. You basically see like this like slow pan of an arm like in this blue robe, and then when it gets closer up the arm, you just see like the black veins of like the macula or the stuff, and then it just cuts. You're just like, okay, I guess it's maybe the modern day, because like there is like a whole storyline of like there was a protector and a person with this thing before the people you were like before Amicia and Hugo, and they are kind of also like a little bit on that island or like following their footsteps in a way. And you kind of learn some of that as you like adventure on the island. So yeah, they build out the world a little bit more in an interesting way. So yeah, I enjoyed it at the end of the day, but I definitely, again, if you like that first game and like tolerated it or just tolerated it, I think you could enjoy this one a little bit more, but also know like there's still going to be there's a lot of rats running from rats.
A lot of combat.
There's a lot of weird stealth moments so that can be a little awkward sometimes, like that first game still.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that was what I played. What else have you been playing, Alex O'Neill?
I mentioned I did play some Overwatch 2 on Switch.
Let's hear it.
Even. But just a little bit of Overwatch 2 in general. They just announced the new next character. It's coming the next season. Yes. It starts in December. New tank.
Tank.
I forget their name. Martella or something?
Yeah, it started with an R. I think it was like Renata. Ramatra. I think that is correct.
Yeah.
He's
cool.
a robot JoJo character. No, not here. Anything else.
Another Omnic character. Apparently, it was teased at the very end.
I had to go.
I had 2019 thing.
Yeah, I had to go look that up because I saw people posting that, and apparently, like one of those like Overwatch like archive events that they used to do in the first one, where it was like a little like story mission. There was like a story mission where you beat it, and it really has like a post-credit scene, and it's like Doomfist talking to this robot about like him wanting to save his people and to join in the bad side, basically. And he like does like the bad guy cloak reveal, and you just see him with his crazy robot dreads, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. So
seems
that's
cool.
happened. Yeah. He has a really cool look, cool design. He has like a staff of some kind. And they said he has
sounds like he has a shield. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like he has he's like a dual mode. Like he like switches modes where he has like a sort of like protector mode where you like you said he has shields, but then he has like a battle mode or whatever, and then he's in the battle mode. He's way more mobile. And he has like punches and stuff. So I'm curious how that'll look. They didn't really. Yeah,
we not gotten a gameplay reveal yet, but
yeah.
They'll be out in December.
But yeah, I was gonna say we had a viewpoints where we talked a decent amount of Overwatch, but we also had like some more stuff about Overwatch come out. Like we had the Halloween event, so I'm curious like where you're still at with Overwatch. Like now it's been like about a month since it's come out. Like how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think I'm in like a little bit of a frustrated position with it, just because, and this is a sentiment that a lot of like the hardcore Overwatch community has been talking about as well, of like, I like to play support, and now support has become the hardest role to play. And like, because there are so many characters that are dive characters, as people will say in Overwatch, where it's like their kind of job to peel off and really focus down a character. Like the characters that you're focusing first are the supports, because they're the weakest links. So it's just like when you are playing support, you are constantly on the offense and defense. Right. You have to know where you are very, very well. And because there's just less people to protect you, it's just a lot harder of a job, depending on like contextually, like what support you are and what tank you have with you.
Right.
So I think that's been a bummer. It's definitely something I felt, and we talked about it a little bit in the viewpoints, but the more I played, the more like real that became. Like if you're a good support too, like the better you are at being a support, the more the enemy team is going to focus you.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Because that's like the role I like to play. It's the role I enjoy the most. I like the versatility of those kits the most. But that did lead me to playing some of the attack and tank more, and definitely having a good time on Switch. You know, I was playing mostly support because I felt like I was playing in handheld mode, so it was a little rough to aim and shoot with those analog sticks in an FPS like game that's very fast paced.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was impressed by how well it ran, how good it looked still.
Nice.
It was a thing of like, I remember Overwatch 1 came to Switch, but I didn't think Overwatch 2 would come to Switch for some reason. But no, it's there. It's
there.
I'd say comparable to that Overwatch 1 version. It's steady. The connections were good. And it was nice. Like the reason I booted it up was like, oh, well, I kind of wanted to just play this in bed. I didn't want to stream it because it's the first person shooter. And it has cross save now. So might as well just download it on Switch.
Cross save and play it. Yeah.
Yeah, and all my stuff was there, and all that worked fine. So I think that's pretty cool, just like conceptually as someone who enjoys that game, being able to kind of jump around like that. Obviously, Destiny does stuff like that too, but Destiny's not on Switch, unfortunately. But yeah, I feel pretty good about it still. The Halloween event was great. Love that it was all ladies. Just very, very good vibes. Very different than like this is like the sequel story to Junkenstein's Revenge.
Yeah.
The Bride of Junkenstein. Very fun. Just a great idea. And yeah, the Halloween events are always like very silly. This one I really like going through like Eichenwald as like a medieval style village in the spooky era, and then like Moira jump scares you. It's and I appreciate. Thank you for giving me the jump scare warning.
Yeah, like warning. There's jump scares in this. They straight up just give you that in that.
Yeah, and similar to you were like, we were talking to our Destiny friends of like, wow, this could be something cool where it's like you get a squad together and do like the hard mode.
Yeah,
and like execute on it.
I legitimately want to try that now because it was one of those things where I remember back playing Overwatch 1 in 2016, and that's mainly when I played it. That was kind of before I ever played Destiny and was into Destiny, which is like wow to think about now. But yeah, like it really was like that moment of like playing this again. And also like I was like watching some streamers play it and like playing they were like squatting up and doing those higher level things and like being like, wow, this really is just like a Destiny strike. Or like playing a Grandmaster Nightfall and a Destiny strike of like having to coordinate like more and like, you know, knowing the role you're playing, knowing like where to place your abilities and stuff. That all looked just like really fun, and like I wanted want to try and get that experience from that too. And it was just exciting to see that and just the potential of that from Overwatch in a way I like finally made that connection again of like, oh yeah, this could be that, and like it could be that Destiny dopamine that I can get when you play that in-game content, but like in a slightly different skin with some with the cool Overwatch characters in the world of Overwatch, because that was always the thing I liked about Overwatch personally, was like the world and the lore and the characters and stuff were always really cool, I thought.
Yeah, very cool. And I'm excited where like that story seems to be going too.
Yeah.
It is just one of those things of like, boy, I would really love that single player. That would make Overwatch 2 feel like Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely the thing with it. Yeah, I would say like I'm in similar vibes with you with Overwatch in terms of like I do like the game a whole lot, Overwatch 2 specifically. But I think it really just comes down to being frustrated as somebody who like does not have a lot of people to play with, and just jumping in solo and having to rely on a completely random matchmaking system to like join you. Because I don't really do go into the competitive playlists. I mainly just stay in quick play, and that can be like such a crapshoot of people to play with, where it'll either be you can immediately tell when there's a much more coordinated team you're playing against, because you're just immediately get steamrolled and or make no progress in a thing, and it can just kind of be no fun. Or you can just kind of tell when you're kind of playing and your teammates are either newer players or players who are not familiar with like playing roles in a team game in an FPS, and are just kind of trying to play this as an FPS, or playing a tank role and not actually playing a tank role, and just trying to the classic Overwatch joke of seeing a Reinhardt rush ahead across from his entire team and run away from his entire team, or watching characters try and solo an entire team, a DPS character trying to solo an entire team and spam need healing while they're just getting instant murdered and stuff. Like,
yep,
there's all that stuff is still totally here, and it's like it's always that wild thing, right? It's like Overwatch has been going for 6-7 years or longer now, and people like still don't get that. It's kind of wild to see sometimes. But yeah, I'm still having fun with it. I am pretty much just kind of sticking with it, I think, now at this point, because there is that hope and anticipation for what the PvE really ends up shaking out to be for this game. And I really hope I think I'm just at that point where it's like, I just hope it's not like a thing where, we're like, fast forward to a year from now and we're like, Overwatch 2's 1 year anniversary has happened and we're finally getting PvE. I'm hoping it's maybe like, maybe season 3 in the spring. Maybe that's when we'll start seeing some PvE stuff hit the game. Like I don't think they've really given a time frame as far as I'm aware, but who knows?
I feel like if it happens, it'll be after Diablo 4.
Okay.
Which is early or first half of next year, I believe.
Okay. That's possible. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, and I'll be curious, that the new hero looks really cool. I like his design. I mainly play quick play, so that usually just turns into me just kind of doing like the daily challenge, weekly challenge kind of stuff, because now it's obviously free to play and you're just running, weekly events. So I just jump into quick play and just pick all roles for the fastest ones. And so more times I understand your sentiments of playing support and just being targeted, or knowing that from the other end, right? Of like knowing like all we need to do as a team, as like your DPS and tanks, is target one of their support roles instead of just blindly blindly firing just everything at this tank who's constantly being healed, right? Like sometimes that's all you need to do to turn the tide of a game, and people just kind of don't do that sometimes, and it can be a little annoying, but it's the world of playing a multiplayer game with complete randoms and no coordination, I guess.
Yeah.
And it continues to be Overwatch. Yeah, and I think that, like, there's some other sentiments around, its shift to free to play now compared to the first game, which I agree with. Some stuff people are having frustration with, and some things I'm kind of like, whatever on. I think like the big thing is like, I think it's a bummer now that there's kind of not an elegant way to just earn some stuff for free.
Yeah.
In a way that's like feels good, because like the nice thing about that original game, even though loot boxes were definitely, you could spend a bunch of money on that and not get what you wanted, and where now at least you can spend money and get exactly what you want, which I think is always a good thing. But now there's like, now if I go to spend money on currency in this game, which I haven't yet, maybe someday there will be a skin that gets me to do that. I don't know, who knows. But there's a bunch of skins and cosmetic items that I will literally never want to purchase with this currency because it is so finite. So I kind of want them to maybe have that, again with, making the Destiny 2 connection. I'm sure there's an equivalent to this in plenty of other games where like just have some another currency that is like free and you just earn it over time by playing a bunch of games or, doing other challenges. And then that currency can be used to maybe like buy certain things. Mainly because there's so many skins that are like from that original Overwatch that are in there. Like the majority of the skins in that game right now are still just all the original skins from the original game. So there's either the one side of like people who, no lifed and still play that game up until Overwatch 2 came out and have everything unlocked in that game. So like they don't really care. Or there's like people like me who either lapsed or completely new players are just like not going to be able to touch any of this stuff, which I think they just need to find something for those people, because I think like at the end of the day, those are going to be the people that, could potentially stick around if they had those little, carrot on the stick.
Yeah, I think they should just do like a Bright Engram style system that Destiny does, like just have a loot box that you can't buy them, you just earn them every time you level up. You get one, you just get some stuff, potentially some currency. Like, it just doesn't make sense the way they have it set up. It's like so expensive for some of these skins. And like even compared to something like League of Legends, which when I heard that there are like $17 skins in League of Legends, I was like, that's egregious. Which has been the case for years. I will say that like the thing these skin prices are comparable to is another, and why it's probably is those prices is something like Valorant, where Valorant like the skins in Valorant are about that price. But I want to say they are also very different too, and they are also not skins that have been in Overwatch 1 for like 4 years plus. Where there's a lot of those skins that are that like expensive as the new skins that you can now get in Overwatch 2. But, people had those for years, and now they're just why not just at least like they should have discounted them a little bit, because they are older skins, especially ones that are like, there's like the purple and blue tier skins. Like, I can't imagine there are people that are going to be like spending a bunch of money to buy those. Right. So like, why not just give an option to like, at least like unlock some of that stuff? Like, come on. Yeah, it's totally right. And it's definitely weird. It's just like that you go into the shop and it's like $26 for a like skin bundle that gets you like one legendary skin and then like 2 cosmetic things that you'll never, like a spray and a keychain or whatever.
Yes.
And it's like, all right.
Because they have to make those bundles. Like those bundles were clearly made already as the game is out, because they know people are not just going to go directly buy that stuff. So I think they just have to kind of give up and give some way to at least earn that kind of basic stuff.
Totally.
For sure. But, is what it is. It is, that's kind of the tides of a free-to-play game. And now it's, a live service game. And I will say, like, at least it's just kind of nice seeing Overwatch back, even though it's... Even though, like, there's also the obvious tumultuous Blizzard stuff that's still going on. And that's such a bizarre company. Yes. But at the end of the day, like Overwatch was something that got me into like Blizzard stuff. Like I never played any other Blizzard stuff prior, and Overwatch was kind of my first real introduction to them. And I've always liked that game, and I like the universe of it. And I'm happy they are continuing it, and it seems like it's doing fairly well. Like I think there was definitely a lot of worry of that, but then because we have that inner circle of internet discourse of like, what is Overwatch? Does it even matter? Does it's the same exact game. Do people even want this? And then you see that one side, but then you see the other side of like, we had 25 million players already. It's like, well, there you go. It's like, they're good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. They're fine.
They're fine.
I will say it does not feel like the same game. Everyone that keeps saying that,
I agree.
is being silly.
Yeah,
and I understand.
They played like 4 matches when it came out and went like, okay, yeah, and then like never played again because like it is definitely. I will agree. I agree with you. Like it feels like a different game. It just doesn't
feel the same. The pace of things is different. Very different.
It's much faster. There are
much more aggressive.
There's a lot. There's a lot of the characters that were in that original game have changed a decent amount. There's characters. There are some new characters, and like those characters change up stuff because that's like the whole conceit of it. So like I agree, it is not the same game.
Yeah, and it does feel like they've put some thought into those changes, like especially in the tanks, like and a lot of people. It's been fun just like watching a lot of Overwatch videos again, and like what people who play a lot think of it. Yeah, similar to like a lot of the Destiny videos that I watch. And reading Overwatch patch notes again, which has been fun. Still not nerfing Sojourn yet. Don't know when that's going to happen. But
hurried up, or not hurried up, because I like her Sojourn. She's fun.
Yeah, Sojourn's very good. But like how like people point out things about Kiriko, who's like the newest support, how she was designed for 5v5 in a way of like she has this kind of safety net of this teleport that is like very much fits the style of the aggressive thing. And when you start like actually listening to people talk about those types of details, I think you will gain an appreciation for how different a game this is.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. It's a different game, and I'm still enjoying that game, but it can still ultimately have some of the problems that first game did, for better or worse.
Needs work. It's evolving, ever evolving, but
yeah,
I still think it's all right.
Yeah,
it's an all right place.
It is indeed. But I'm definitely gonna keep playing it. We'll probably talk about it. We'll probably maybe next we'll have some time to play that new hero. We'll definitely talk about it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I've been doing recently. I just want to give a bunch of shout out because like a bunch of games have come out, but obviously there's a lot of the big games like Overwatch we just talked about, Splatoon, Bayonetta. All these bigger games, but there's a lot of smaller games I've been playing too, mainly for the viewpoints. Just go to youtube.com/irrational passions. You can see a lot of those that I've done. Some of them are Switch games, some of them are not, but there's definitely a bunch on there that I played. But I also recently started reviewing video games for another video game website, Gasp, and that is Nintendo World Report. It's another Nintendo focused website where they review. They do some video stuff as well. I probably will have video over there at some point. I've not really been quick to that, but I played a couple games for them. They are also games we actually have talked about previously on this podcast and also through viewpoints, like little Noah. I played through that and had a lot of fun with it and reviewed that. RPG Time: The Legend of Right. I played the Switch version of that, and actually completed it. I didn't actually complete it on Xbox. We played it way back in the day, but I played through the Switch version to completion. I will say, unfortunately, I did not like it. Kind of was a second time through. I was not enjoying it as much. Like it kind of lost a little bit of that luster and kind of lost it after a certain point. I think the thing that was kind of grating on me was like it doesn't do enough. Like with RPG in the name, I was kind of hoping, as we played in that viewpoints, you see like you start to get a little bit more kind of freedom to do things and look around and explore, but like it really does not let you do as much as I would like. And in fairness, I think that is because like it is clearly a game that's probably for a younger audience and like has a lot of kids in mind because it's very, very, very silly and, cute and whimsical kind of feel to it. And I think it just gets bogged down by a lot of text boxes after a certain point because I'm just like, that just does not stop. And it was kind of just getting too much for me. So it was still fine at the end of the day, but I think it was just something I wished
long in the tooth.
Long in the tooth. I wished, they would have done a little bit more in the gameplay aspects of it and giving the player a little bit more agency in it. And then another one that unfortunately I did not like at all, even worse, that review I think like just came out, was Eterna Noctis. That is it's a Metroidvania. It's actually been on Steam for a while, but it came to Switch recently, like it just released on Switch, and I do not like it at all, unfortunately, because I'm somebody who I would consider myself like somebody who enjoys them quite a lot. I would say like you're probably one of the only few people I know that likes them probably more than I do, because you've definitely played a lot more. But
I'm a sicko.
But I definitely have enjoyed my fair share as well. And this one, man, it's pretty rough. Even it feels like one of those games where like if for some reason they like bogged down the Switch version online, but it feels like they did it more than they needed to, because I went and looked at the PC version, and like the PC version looks like fine, but like the Switch version, like the load times are rough. Like think about it like this way, right? Like you play a Metroidvania, and obviously your hit points where you hit the maps, and you have your screen transitions. You know, even back in like Super Metroid, right? You have that moment where you shoot a door, and then you hit the door, and then just like a quick little like side swipe to that thing. Think of that. Think of every time you do that in a Metroid game, but now add like a fade to black, like 5 to 10 second load every time you do that. That's a turn to darkness, and it just kills the pace of that game. And I went and looked up the Steam version. It's definitely a little better on Steam, because obviously that can vary on like what power your PC is, so it's probably definitely a little better there. It definitely looks really muddy, like they put like some kind of, I think, visual filter or resolution scale kind of thing on it, maybe on the Switch version, that just like makes it look so muddy all the time. Like it just looks not great.
Bummer.
And then on top of that, like just the combat really is not that interesting. Like it's kind of going for that kind of edgelordy, like it feels like in the vein of like Dark Souls obviously is extremely popular, and there's been so many Metroidvanias that have gone for that dark, edgier style and trying to evoke that, and some have done it very well, and this one I think is also trying to go for that, and it just does not do it great at all. And like the story premise it throws around, where it's like you're chaos, and you have been in this internal battle with light, and you lost, and now you have to regain your powers and continue that eternal fight. That's literally the story of this game. I'm not even exaggerating. And it just like kind of does nothing with it. And like the character's written like one of the most edgelordy things I've ever read in like a while, in like a not fun way. Like it feels like in some ways it's entertaining. I said this in the review. Like some ways it's entertaining because he is so edgelordy, but then like, and he acts like how he's almighty and powerful. But then you like go start playing the game, and you like run to slime, and you can like die in like 2 hits. And there's like it's just so bad, like how they do that stuff. And then the most egregious thing that really just kind of turned me off, and was the thing that kind of made me go like, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore. Sorry, reviewers. Having a fully fledged review of this game, I just couldn't do it. Was that again evoking that Dark Souls style of thing, the obvious thing, right, that they all do is when you die, you lose your experience, you have to go get it back. Dark Souls does it fine because that stuff stays. Or the main thing is if you just want to like not go back and get it, you can just go find other stuff and gain experience, right? Turn Noctis, you can't even do that. You literally, if you're like fighting stuff, you do not gain experience until you go back and get that thing, or you have to find a point where you fast travel to. Like if you get killed and that thing gets left, you have to backtrack to a fast travel point, take that point all the way back to the start of the game where this character is sitting. That will like restart your like ability to gain experience essentially.
Weird.
And it kills that entire game, right? Because you think of like a Metroidvania, like my favorite thing about a Metroidvania is the ability to explore and find things, get new abilities, keep exploring. And where this game is like, I had multiple times where it's like, oh cool, I got this new ability, let me start doing stuff. Oh wait, I just died, and now I have to like go all the way back and find this fucking soul again, and backtrack a bunch of times, and then backtrack through multiple little screen transition loads to get to where I was. And it all
kind of stacks up together.
It just stacks up, and it was a bummer to play a bad one of those games in a genre I like a lot. But this is how it goes sometimes. I did it to myself because they for reviewing games, they just send me a list of games they have codes for, and they go, hey, which one you want to try? And I just went and did a quick search on a lunch break one day during my job, and just like went like, oh, the game looks kind of, oh, it's Metroidvania. Okay, I like Metroidvanias. And then I just played. I was like, oh no, what have I done? What have I done?
Not like this.
So
yeah,
it is what it is on that one. But I'm gonna. But Nintendo report. It's been fun writing stuff again.
Yeah, check them out.
Check those out.
Read those reviews.
I'll probably have some more stuff there.
Get
soon.
Mike those clicks.
Nothing. I'm not working on something immediately, but I did get another list of codes, so I might pick something. We'll see. It's gonna get busy around here in these parts. But other than that, the game I actually really want to talk about, I unfortunately got to play not much of, which was Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Sorry, Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I bought it. I downloaded it. I even bought the like full-on DLC expansion collector's edition. Whatever.
Gotta get that Rayman whenever.
Yeah, I was gonna
out.
say they did put out like a little like actual like sort of roadmap kind of thing that like showed off like there's like the next 3 things where like the next one is like looks like it'll be some kind of like tower challenge thing that they're doing, and then the next one will be like another story thing with like a new character that's like a new rabbit character, and then the thing after that is like you said, it'll be you play. It looks like Rayman will be in the game in some way, and you'll play as Rayman, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I've heard the game's really good. It's I've definitely heard nothing but good things about it, but I just have not had time to actually sit down and play it. Some of it's my own doing because it's when I've had time to play it, I just try to play other stuff, and I feel bad. But I will get to it. I will say next episode I will talk about it for sure at length. Who knows actually, because Pokemon's coming. But I will get to it at some point. I promise.
A lot of RPG time. Hey, if I got to Fire Emblem 3 Houses this year, anything is possible.
Yay, good point. That's fair. But that's all I got. So what have you been playing? What else have you been playing? Anything, Alex O'Neill?
Last 2 things. Shovel Knight Dig review discussion with myself and Jarrett Green coming soon.
Nice. Excellent.
We had a great conversation. I really, really am proud of that. I think we crushed it. At the end of the
excellent.
Jarrett was like, "We crushed it." So I was like, "Cool, all
hell
right."
Yeah. Jarrett seal of approval on that one. That's nothing but good. So yeah.
I got some B-roll to that, so I'm working on editing that. Yeah. That was great. I finished Shovel Knight Dig as well since last time we talked about it, and I did the secret route, which I can speak to now, which I would like to speak about.
Do it
for people who don't want to know. As a fair warning,
spoilers.
Spoilers. A lot of casual spoilers in this episode.
Okay.
But it's okay, we got to talk about video games.
Yeah, we got to talk about the games.
I don't think it's going to hurt your experience with Shovel Knight either. So the whole Shovel Knight Dig secret route kind of starts with the little owl guy that's kind of hanging out near the hole. If you jump on him and push him down into the hole, you start the secret route. Boom.
Oh, nice.
You're in
That's
it.
Cool.
Which is really cool. I love that kind of stuff. In it, basically, the goal of that route is to collect all 6 gems in one run, which means you have to go to all 6 levels in one run, which I didn't expect, and I was like really surprised by, because Splunky 2 does a similar thing of you kind of have a choice at one point of like lava area, jungle, and you don't do both in the same run. It's always going to be a choice. In this, it's like, okay, find the owl somewhere in that first area. That's just the first part of it. And then in the second area, you have to like buy an item from the shop, and that will let the owl break the little golden drill that gives you items at the end of every level. So for that second world, you don't get the golden drill except for the first level, which is a cool like little extra challenge to it. And then Mr. Owl will use, he has a name, I just don't remember it. It's like Artius or something. He will use the golden drill to like dig through like the broken path at the end of one of the levels and let you go to the other World 2 level. And then you're doing those 2 in a row. And then, other things you have to do per world to essentially zigzag your way through all the levels and fight all the bosses. And then you get a screwdriver, a magic screwdriver that lets you break the big drill that is chasing you, which shows up in the final boss fight. So you just like chuck a screwdriver into it, and it destroys the floor, reveals like a whole new level, and then there's like an extra level that leads you to the true final boss, which is just like perfect. It does not run very well on Switch, unfortunately, because there's a lot going on screen. But the final boss, it like kind of brings the Enchantress enemy villain back from or the Sorceress, I think is what she's called in Shovel Knight, brings her back from the original Shovel Knight, and it's just like this big monster mech that you are like constantly digging through tons and tons of dirt down. So it's just infinite digging, and like Shield Knight's there, and she's like jumping up and like grabbing, like blocking drills that are coming from the left and right side, and the owl's like flying around. There's like tons of stuff happening. It's super epic. The music is crazy. It is such a like a fun, it's not like hard either. It's more of like a you got here, so like we're just gonna go nuts. Yeah, we're just gonna have this cool moment, and it's really good. I was like, it was so worth, like it took a lot of tries to get the run right, and it was so worth it. Like I've done it a couple times now, and yeah, I just really think it was an excellent like little pin in the final like story of that game. And then like it kind of, if you do all that, it kind of reveals like, oh, this is a prequel to Shovel Knight.
Cool.
Which is cool. And it recontextualizes that game in a cool way of like, oh yeah, like Shovel Knight and Shield Knight did go on fun adventures, you know?
Yeah, good time.
But yeah, that game is great. I think it is really, really excellent. It's definitely one of my favorite roguelikes that I've played. Certainly on Switch. Worth your time. I'm sure it will come to other platforms eventually, and I will probably buy it there again just so I can do the final boss at maybe a better frame rate. But yeah, and then there's like extra challenges that will unlock after you do the ending. Either I think the true ending or like the regular ending, that are like pretty interesting, of like go through a whole level without jumping, dig through 100 pieces of dirt in a row, which was a fun one to figure out how to do. You can do that in that like final boss fight pretty easily.
Right.
But I did it like outside because there's some things in the fourth world that you can kind of do that with. And those will unlock additional alternate versions of like Shovel Knight's shovel upgrades. So like that'll get you a different drop attack, that'll get you a different aerial attack, that'll get you a different like standing attack. And all of them are actually pretty cool. And definitely like open up some different gameplay styles toward the end of the, like, you know, when you're just kind of collecting things.
Right.
But yeah, I really, really love my time with it. I think Jarrett was like, yeah, I'd give it in the 7 to 8 range. And I was like, yeah, I'd give it in the 8 to 9 range. So just about normal for where we're at. But yeah, really, really impressed by Shovel Knight Dig. Just the music, the presentation alone, so good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool to hear. That's like honestly a lot more than I expected out of that game, and that's cool. Because I played a little bit of it on Steam Deck and have fun, but I've not gotten that deep into it. But I definitely want to. After hearing all this stuff, I may go get more into it. I definitely want to just kind of like binge a bunch of roguelites on that thing because I've been downloading a bunch. One I would really like to talk about that I think you would really like too is Dome Keeper, but it's not on Switch, and I've been having so much fun with that one because it's basically like take Steam World, the gameplay of like a Steam World Dig 1 or 2 where you're just digging, or you know, Shovel Knight Dig, where you're just digging a bunch, but you know you're doing it between waves of enemies that you're protecting a literal dome from monsters. It's really fun. It has a really good like pace and vibe to it that I really like. I've been playing that, and I don't think Vampire Survivors is on Switch yet either, but that'd also be that's super fun. That's what I've been playing on there, roguelite wise. One day we'll get to talk about it.
One day, I know. I've had multiple conversations about the Steam Deck with other people as well. Of like, obviously, I would love to play a lot of these kind of PC only, pixely, smaller games.
Yeah,
and that could just be my vehicle for doing it because I'm probably not building the PC anytime soon.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd like to, but it's just like not a thing that I'm passionate about in the same way.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I would have not have a built PC that I'm recording this on now if it were not for like wanting to do video production stuff. Really, I'd be in a similar boat. But the Steam Deck's been really nice because I've become less and less interested in sitting here at a desktop to play games on, but I still want to check out those games that are mainly on PC, and it's been nice having the Steam Deck to just be like, I'm going to delete all these roguelites that I've really wanted to play for a while and just download on my Steam Deck and just lay on the couch or lay in bed and just play these a little bit. It's been really cool.
Yeah. The only other thing I've been playing is Harvestella, which came out yesterday.
Harvestella. I know.
So
I saw.
I've not played a lot.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear. What the madness of this weird time traveling anime lady. If anything more has crazy happened. I also find it really entertaining that like people were just like I saw, honestly, like this game just kind of dropped. I feel like people didn't realize it. Like there's a lot of people on Twitter just like, wait, that's out, and there was like no real. In fairness, is like I think that's like the unfortunate God of War, Sonic Frontiers, Pokemon effect. Like all three of these games are like coming out like next week and the week after, and I think that's like been taking up all of the video game.
Like the reviews just dropped. I feel like that like ate up the whole video game conversation. I was anticipating it, so I was like, "Oh, it's November 4th. It is my day to go harvest with my anime girlfriend. Let's go,
let's go."
So yeah, it was definitely like I was kind of hoping that it would maybe like give me a recap so I just like started up. It's like chapter 3. Hey, this is wild. Immediately, just like anime girl shows up. Hey, there's like this thing going on outside. I go outside. There's a dome around my farm, and there's just like a little floating orange fairy there. Like, hi, I'm one of the 4 great fairies. I'm like, all right, I guess we're fucking in it.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So just like right away, I'm like, okay, we're 4 great fairies. There's one for each season. There's like they're a whole character that you get to name each of these.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they have default names, thank God, because I can't think of like a fall season name.
Fall name for this fairy god, whatever the hell.
Yeah. And then like it very much opens wide up of like, okay, right out the bat, Arya, the time traveler lady, she joins your party. So if you go to any dungeons, whatever way, she'll be with you. Cool. You unlock a new class right away that you get from her, which is like a pugilist class basically. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the combat in the game is like based on elemental attacking weaknesses. So the pugilist in this, I forget what they had. It's like the Reveler or something. They have a name for it. Mm-hmm. That they can switch elements of their punches, so their like base attack will change elements, which is cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to play with them because now all the enemies are level 10, so I went out into the woods as my level 1 pugilist and immediately died, and was like, all right, gotta relearn this game, I guess.
Yeah.
And it like chapter 3, it's like, all right, there's 3 main quest lines, one for each of the 3 other major regions, and there's like 3 other towns and cities and whatever, and there's one for each of the other seasons. So like the first, the sea slite, these like big crystals, the first one you do is fall, and the dungeon around it is very fall themed. So now it's like, okay, it introduces a character kind of from each of the east, west, and south regions. Mm-hmm. That seem to be like kind of like your major characters for these plot lines. And it's like you can kind of go do whichever one you want first, which I think is pretty cool. I imagine you're going to be hitting a level battle in some of those like harder ones. So I just, I went to the easiest one and I died in a few seconds. So,
God.
But again, I was using my not leveled up class. So that's really all I've gotten to do. I did like, there's some side quests now, where you're doing errands for other characters. I don't know. I haven't seen anything more in like how to level up your relationships with stuff. But I did unlock a bunch of like farm actual equipment. So there's like a miller and like something that'll make flour and something that'll make juice.
You broke the dome, the fairy dome.
Yeah, the thing is, like, after you beat a dungeon, quietus happens for like one night, so that would kill my farm. So the fairy put up the dome to not kill my farm, because I as the player would not have known that. So it was clearly like protect. Telling me like, hey, you know, this is after you do a major dungeon, make sure you're done with your crops because they're probably all gonna die.
Got it. Interesting.
And I think it was kind of tutorializing that for me. But now there's also like, what I appreciate is the fairy adds like this like book of like tasks to do, like just general achievement-y type stuff that unlock upgrades for the farm, unlock new recipes for farm equipment. Like one upgraded it so I can like charge the plow, and I can do 3 spots at once with the plow. And then there is a different tab for each of the other fairies that I've yet to find in each of the sea slights. And this feels like the whole game, but I have a feeling, you know, going off time travel anime lady and kind of the relationship I established with her, I have a feeling there's like a lot more past that. So it's cool how much it opens up right away.
Cool. Nice.
But yeah, I haven't gotten to play too much, but I am excited to play more. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to hear what you will say. But yeah, we'll have to probably get into that in the next episode for sure. And I'll be sure also to have more Mario Rabbids talk. But
we'll have Pokemon.
We'll have Pokemon. Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably gonna do it for this episode. It's gonna be it was shorter than our normal ones, but that's because sometimes we can be madmen. But we had a lot of games to talk about still, and it was fun to talk about all that stuff. And we'll have even more to talk about, like you said. I'll definitely talk more Mario Rabbids. You got more Harvestella, Pokemon. I can't wait for Pokemon to be here. I might, roll the dice, getting a little wet and wild here. I might check out Sonic Frontiers. We'll see.
Whoa!
But I mean that's gonna be that. I will be completely honest and say that is gonna be. Let's see what review scores it gets, and if it gets decent review scores, then I'll go. Okay, I'll go buy this.
That is where I'm at with the Callisto Protocol. So I understand.
Yeah, that's a good one to call it too. Because I do want to play that as well. But that's also a good call for that, because there's just so many games coming out right now.
So many. I just don't have that time.
Yeah. And then, like you said, not at all Nintendo related, but God of War is imminent, and I kind of want to play that because I enjoyed that first game enough, and
I'll be playing that as well.
If you're not a Nintendo fan, I'm sure we'll maybe figure out a way to talk about it.
We might do a spoiler cast for that game.
Yeah,
that could be one of the ones where it's big enough.
I was thinking spoiler cast or like a review discussion would be good for that game, because there probably will be a lot to talk about. For sure. So not Nintendo related, but hey, that's content we'll have
Irrational
soon.
Passions related.
Irrational Passions related. That's right. That's where you can find us. YouTube.com/Irrational Passions. IrrationalPassions.com. We do have a website. Quinn wrote something recently. I know there's not as much writing as we used to have, but it comes up every so often. When people got time for it. People we got some. Yeah. Everyone's busy with stuff going on. But yeah, thanks everybody as always for hanging out with us, listening, watching, wherever you're doing that. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in November. Even though this is in November, we'll be back later in November to talk again, like I said, Pokemon, Mario Rabbids, Harvestella, any potential Nintendo news. Probably not much. That'll probably, like you said, it'll probably be December with maybe any potential announcements at the Game Awards. We also know like Mario Kart DLC, the next week of DLC is probably pretty soon here, so we'll probably talk about that as well and probably stream or play that. That'll be fun.
That's probably December. Yeah,
it's definitely pretty soon here for sure. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. Thanks everybody again. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.